Thank you for joining us. Well, today we're going to show you something about data quality and how that can be managed with this rather amazing new product called QFire, which really does, as the picture there suggests, allows you to put the trust back into your data. So let us begin. We've got Daniel Cox, our Chief Technical Officer, who'll be giving the technical presentation of QFire today. And that's myself there, Ian Nicholson, doing the sales and marketing here at Data Transformed. So just to kick things off, so just to put you through the agenda for today. So we've done the introductions, although I'll just talk about QFire in a moment. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the impact of poor data quality, if indeed that's something that you're suffering from at the moment, and how QFire can put the value back into your data. And we'll show you how this happens, and we'll use Yellowfin as the viewing portal for the result, okay, as part of the demonstration. So just to introduce you to Data Transformed and what we do. So we're a team of seasoned BI and data warehouse experts, and we use modern tools and techniques to deliver our BI projects faster and at a fraction of the cost of any other method. That's our mantra, and it's something that we stick to. So just going around the circle here of the products that we use to achieve that. So we've got here at the top, so Yellowfin is our BI tool of choice for delivering information to the users, highly scalable. There are customers out there that are using Yellowfin to deliver reports to tens and even hundreds of thousands of users. With a very small footprint, you can deliver that with a very small platform. We have BI Ready for our data warehousing. We've done a webinar on that recently. We've got recordings if you want to view or find out some more information on that. We have MaxiPlan for budgeting and forecasting. We do that as well. QFire that you're going to see today. Billinman's unstructured textual ETL tool. So this allows you to take information from any data source and extract real meaning with context. And we actually use that with QFire to put that into our BI Ready data warehouses. So a very efficient way to turn unstructured data into something that you can actually analyze using Yellowfin. Or any BI tool comes to that matter. Sasabi at the top here for putting SSAS cubes in the cloud on Windows Azure, and Action, who have at the moment the world's fastest analytical database. So if you're having performance issues with your BI solution, then this will be a great place to start. So data quality, this is why we're here today, people. So it's a very accurate data is a fundamental requirement of good information systems. I mean, in today's age, data is a fuel that we use to make decisions, and it's therefore a critical component to the success of any BI project. Now, traditional data quality solutions rely heavily on IT resources to install, implement, and maintain. Their technical nature causes a disconnect between business and data, leaving IT to code the rules required to improve data quality. So it's really not an ideal way. And of course, what are the consequences? Well, the more disparate systems you have, the more likely you're going to have duplicate data. According to Forrester, a major healthcare company recently calculated the costs caused by data not being updated across those multiple systems, and they reckon it was costing them $9 million a year to manage that. Okay. We all know the expression ego, and if you're having customer-facing employees, they need the right data about their customers for purchases and prior service history to deliver the right answers to those customers. And when those employees can't get the right information when dealing with customers, it makes the organization look plain incompetent. At best, you'll have an unhappy customer. At worst, they'll leave. When decision makers reject IT data because they just know it can't be right, how many times you heard that? They don't always rush to their manager's office to demand the data is fixed. They usually just fall back to their previous methods for making decisions and stop using the BI solution put in place. So when that happens, your BI project has failed, since user adoption, of course, is a key metric for the success of any BI project. And if you consider these days all kinds of compliance rules, if you've got a company that has duplicate customer records, and if a customer opts out, for example, of a company newsletter that's sent by email, and if that changes and propagated to all the instances of that customer record, and that customer receives a newsletter again, then there's a potential of being fined for spamming, etc. So they're just some of the consequences of poor data quality. Now, I found this quite amazing stat from this book here, Data Quality, the Accuracy Dimension by Jack E. Olson. And he, in his research, found that poor data quality can negatively affect operational profits by as much as 20%. I just thought that was amazing. But when you consider a healthcare company that spent $9 million a year looking after poor data, then you can start to see why. So now, QFire is a versatile data solution really for all organizations. It's designed by business users for business users, and it ensures that data inaccuracies are identified and rectified before they become part of the critical decision processes. So the idea of QFire is to literally put control back in the hands of the user who understands information. And I think that's an amazing concept that amazingly so many other data quality vendors miss. So what are the benefits? Well, straight away, you've got business users being able to manage their own data, in something they can understand in a web-based interface. They can document and manage everything in one place. You've got a framework for quality management, and everything's stored in a nice, neat repository. Now, QFire consists of several components that break up the tasks of managing the quality of data, and all QFire's features are managed through a browser interface, so it's easy and intuitive to use. The rule editor allows a business user to define simple or complex rules using plain English, and they can test those rules in a couple of minutes. The user can define rules around data collection, who can submit data and how the data should look when it's loaded. Beg your pardon. There's a quality firewall that stops low quality data from being loaded into your target systems like your data warehouse. There's a data quality score, which is designed to reflect the relative importance that the business assigns to a set of rules. And finally, the reports that can be delivered to show numerous aspects of data quality, including quality scoring and the impact of the quality firewall. So it's very much a very logical and laid out way, and I don't want to dwell on all these diagrams too much. I'd rather just get in and show you the product, get down on there for you. So they're the components just previously mentioned. And what QFire is about is now a whole new approach to data quality. So right now in the product, QFire is managing the collection, the validation, the protection, so i.e. stopping bad data getting to the warehouse, and the monitoring of your data. On the roadmap are the tail ends of that, so the understanding, so the profiling of the data, and the enrichment. So you can even actually apply transformation rules to clean up the data in more detail as you go. So that is just a very brief overview of QFire as a product, and we're going to show you the whole thing in just a second. I'll just quickly give you a quick introduction to Yellowfin, because this is the BI tool that we're going to be showing you today, showing the result. If you've not seen it before, it's an amazing success story. Ranked #1 in the Dresdner BI survey, over 1 million users worldwide. The features in Yellowfin are what you'd expect to find in a 21st century BI tool. So you've got fully interactive dashboards, the ability to share and collaborate information through a Facebook-like interface, which is really quite beautiful. Mobile BI, as you'd expect, deliver your reports and information to any device, anywhere. Proactive alerts, so if something goes out of whack, the solution will actually come and tell you about anomalous numbers rather than you having to go look for them. And of course, all the beautiful data visualizations that you'd expect as well, including full GIS mapping capability. So when you consider that 70% of your data has a geographical component, then that's invaluable. And just a quick example of a yellowfin dashboard. Won't dwell too much, but as you can see, beautiful visualizations, interactive filters down the side there. Another dashboard, perhaps not as sexy as the first one, but useful all the same. Here's an example of the social interface in Yellowfin. So you can see here, it looks exactly like Facebook. Users can comment and share on reports. You can even annotate reports with data that's not in your warehouse. So here we can see they turned Google AdWords off around the beginning of March, and it had no effect on their overall sales. They just kept going up. So that's what it's showing there. And of course, the GIS tracking stuff that comes built in, which all adds up to self-serve reporting made easy, and of course, deliverable via mobile. So now that's me done for now. I did have a slide that used to say the word demonstration. I don't know what's happened to it, but I'm going to hand you over now to Dan Cox, our CTO, who is going to show you and tell you all about QFire. So I'm just going to pass it across to Dan. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think everybody can hear me now, so that's great. Sorry for that little bit of delay as we passed over controls. So everyone should be able to see my screen now, and I've actually got the portal, a login page to come into QFire. And again, as Ian mentioned, it is 100% web-based, which is great, so you can access it anywhere at any time, upload any sort of file, as well as connect to data sources. Excellent. So I'm just going to log in as myself, and I'm actually going to log in as a sysadministration role today so that we can actually see everything that we're going to be able to do. So this is our workspace or our workbench. It's where we can actually do pretty much everything within QFire. So we've got the ability to do submissions. So that's where 90% of the end users will have access. So we can modify functional access as well as data security access. So they can come in, click on submissions, and upload a data file and have it go through the data quality checks, validation rules, and then it'll be populated into a repository. And of course, then it can be used as a source to your data warehouse in your BI platform. So we have the ability to get some reporting on the information that QFire uploads, so validation scores, data scores, error statistics, etc. We have the ability to set up the administration, manage those users, the different roles, functional as well as data roles. Knowledge management, very quick and easy way to get your hands dirty and to see information exchanges in the blogs, the tutorials, as well as the user guides. But the main area or the guts of QFire is the data collection, and this is where we can actually set up all of our data sets, the business rules, the firewall rules, etc. But if I go ahead and click into submissions, we can see here the submissions that have been uploaded already. So we've got a couple different data sets here, one called locality logs and another one called Northwind Customers GIS. So we've got two submissions in each of them at the moment, and since I've logged in as an administrator type role, I can see all submissions, but I can also switch to see just my submissions. And of course, we'll see there that I don't have any at all. So as we go through this process, we'll be uploading a couple different submissions. But before I do that, I just want to set the scene so we have kind of an understanding of what might be possible. So I own this company, and it's a waste management company. And we do lots of deliveries and pickups of biohazard containers and skip bins for construction sites and residential renos and things like that. I've got plenty of staff that are truck drivers that have different routes, but I also use contractors, and these contractors have their own trucks, so I can't really use GIS tracking on their trucks, and it's also not really feasible to create standard platform that they can get me the information that I need. And some of that information is I need to know the delivery and drop-off locations. So what I've done is I've just asked those truckies to just jot down the site ID and the postcode that they're at. And if they actually do have a GPS, they can jot down the latitude and longitudes for me. At the end of the day, they can go ahead and hand that over to our office manager, and the office manager can log into QFire and upload those. Now, you can imagine that being truckies, they're probably going to get some of the data wrong. So that's why we're going to use QFire instead of having the data go right into our data warehouse. But before we do that, I'm just going to log on to Yellowfin. And as Ian said, we are Yellowfin partners. And the only reason I'm showing it today is just to actually look at an end result. So that way we can see the data coming in and flowing in. Now this is just a normal monitoring dashboard that I have set up as my home page. I'm going to go over to my favorites bar here and go down to my locality map. And it's going to bring up the submissions that I've actually uploaded already. So it's actually real time, so it's actually looking at the repository right now. As you can see, I've got a nice Google map here, and we can drill down right to the street level because it is Google Maps, as you can see. So you can see that information. And you'll notice that we've got truck number 2 and truck number 7, which correlates to the 2 submissions that we've done, which were truck number 2 and truck number 7. Some information on the different delivery types, where they delivered and picked up from, and the quantity that they've delivered or picked up, as well as just some nice donut charts of what products make up the most delivery and drop-offs, as well as the delivery type breakup. So just remember that you can see here that it was only truck number 2, number 7, and we'll go back into QFire now and take a look at the data collection portion in this setup. So from here I could go back to my workbench or just use the icons at the top and go to the data collection. So if I go there, we can actually see the different data sets that we've set up, and I've got one here for the locality logs. And we can see as well some statistics very quickly, a number of submissions. So we've got 2 submissions, number of columns, parameters, business rules, and firewall rules. So if I click into the data set, this is where we can set up everything around that particular data set. So we can set up and configure the columns, the business rules, and firewall rules, as well as runtime parameters. So if I show you what the columns look like, they're just basic columns that of the data that we're actually going to upload. So in my flat file that the office manager is going to upload, it's got a log ID, a site postcode, the site ID, or the site type like commercial, residential, the truck code, the delivery type, whether it's a delivery, a pickup, the product, whether or not it's a 50-ton skip bin or a biohazard container, the quantity, and of course the date. So if I take a look inside at one of these, it's really quite easy and straightforward to set up. And I'll just edit this so we can see that. So I've got a place where I can give it a name. So that'll be the ID, a label, a short description, a long description, whether or not this particular field is a primary key or part of a primary key, the data type, and that data type is quite important, because that will be the data type that will be created in the repository in the database. Okay? As well as if I want customized error reports, and the source column that will be uploaded. So in my flat file, they just put ID for it. Okay. And of course, if I take a look at any of the others, like product, I have about the same type of information, except for it's not a primary key and it's a text type. So it's straightforward. You don't have to worry about, is it a varchar or an invarchar? So an end user can actually, or a business user can actually understand what they're creating if you allow them to have that type of functionality. So I'll go back to my main data set here, and I can take a look at the business rules. So the business rules are those validation rules, looking at the data when it comes in and validating it it against certain things. Of course, it'll automatically validate it against the data types that we set up, whether or not it's an integer or a text, but we can set up specific business rules. In this case, we're looking at the locality postcode. So one of the things the trucker's got to do is put in the postcode, and if they do have the latitudes and longitudes, they can put that in as well. But the main rule here is around whether or not that postcode is real. So I've got the Australian postcode downloaded with all of the GIS information from the Australian postcodes as well. So it's going to look up the site postcode that the truckies have put in and make sure that that is actually a real postcode against the Australian postcode list. And we've set this as a severity of critical, so it's quite important that we actually have this set up properly, because otherwise it's not going to give me the information that I really want. So, and I've done that because I actually can contain master data in here, as well as referential data. So we can upload from data source and maintain and modify the master data. And I've got tab up here for reference data. So if I click on that, I can see different reference data that I've actually brought into the system. And one of those happens to be my Australian postcode GIS. So I've got the normal postcodes up here, but I've also got the GIS ones. So it gives me the latitude and longitude of every single postcode, Australian postcode, obviously in Australia. So it's a little over 16,000 records, so it'll take just 1 second to populate here. And you can see I've got postcodes, the actual locality, the state, and our latitude and longitudes, which is exactly what we want. So the business rule is going to come in, validate it against the postcode. Is it a real postcode? And when it brings it into the repository, it's going to associate the latitude and longitudes for those site IDs that have been uploaded. So if I go back into my data collection again, into my locality logs, I also have 2 firewall rules. So the firewall rules tell me how I'm going to bring the data in. So in this case, I do have one for the locality postcode. So the business rule tells me whether or not it's correct, whether or not a postcode exists, or if it's valid. And the firewall rule tells me what I want to do with that piece of data. So in this case, I've set it as a high severity, which gives me a data score and what the rule type is. So in this case, I want that particular piece of information, that whole row, to not come into my repository. So that way I can send it out to another flat file, and of course in later versions we'll be able to modify that and massage it in here directly. So I could have set the rule up to say I want the entire submission or the entire data set that they've tried to upload to fail, so it won't actually put it in, even if there was only one failure or one error come through. But in this case, I just want the one row not to come through. That way I can start to get all the other data, and I can focus in on that particular truck driver who isn't very good. Okay, so I've also got one for latitude, and that's just going to take a look at the column of latitude and whether or not it fits into the data type. So if it's 19.6 as far as scale, and that's a normal latitude GIS code, and if it doesn't fit that, then I don't want it to come in. All right. So what I might do now is actually upload one of submission. So I'll go to my submission, I'll go to click add, and I can decide which data set I want to upload to. And of course, this is controlled by security, so those data sets that somebody shouldn't have access to, like an external AR, accounts receivable balances that we might upload or keep in MYOB, and we want to put that into our data warehouse from an old legacy system or an acquired company, we can do that. So I just need to give it a name. So I'm going to name this truck number 1. Okay, I'm just going to choose the file. So I'll grab our truck file number 1. So again, I'm the office manager doing this, and just tell it what type of file type it is. And then we can go ahead and add. And now you can see it's actually queued up to go. And what it'll do now is upload that information, validate it against that business rule, as well as the file wall rules, and tell me whether or not that information is correct. So it's done, so I can take a look at the rules. So there I can see that actually 5 out of the 50 transactions were rejected because they didn't meet the postcode business rule. And I also had a date not formatted correctly, so it's also failed. And that's just because of the data type the date was set up as. So if I click into the postcode, we can see there right away the 5 transactions, and we can see that the first 4 are postcodes of 2005. Well, that actual postcode doesn't exist in Australia, so obviously he misput that down. And the last one must have been a typo. I'm the office manager. I might have just accidentally put an extra 9, and there it is. We can see right away it should have been just 2099. So I could go off and actually modify those. I'm going to ignore those for now. Oop, I need to just select them. So I'll select them. So I'm going to ignore those. That way the repository is going to get updated with the rest of the data set. Okay. And of course, if I go back into Yellowfin, I'll just refresh this report by closing it and opening it. Go to my favorites, back down to the liquidity log. And we should be able to see truck number 1 come through. And here we go. Slight little delay and latency there, I think. And so here we've got, now we can see that truck number 1 has come in, and we can see as well my chart, my Google map, that the truck number 1 who does the Sydney routes has come in, which is great. Real-time information, and I know that the quality of the data is up to scratch as well. So now I'll go back into QFire, and in this time, I'm actually going to create a business rule with us. So the first thing I'm going to do is upload another set of reference data. I'm going to create a new reference data. I'm going to add a new one, and this is going to be my products. And I'll just copy that down. And I'll choose a file. I'm going to choose my product reference. If I just scroll over, we can see it. Just some basic information, my product ID, my product name, and a product description. Okay. Of course, this could be a lot more sophisticated with thousands of product references and codes, but I've got a simple demonstration today. And of course, I'll select the file type, and I just need to add in the columns. So I'll add product ID. And you can see how easy it is. And I'm going to create this as an integer on that one. Oops. There we go. And in our product name, give it a text type, 50. And add in our product description. And this one I'll make it 255. I'll say create, and it's going to upload that reference data for us. And of course, I could have done that through the data quality as well. So now I can see there the liquidity product. I'll click on that, and we'll see that it's brought in our 4 main products. So now I can go back to my data collection, go into my liquidity logs, and set up a business rule. And I've got different groups here, but I've got just the one main group, mandatory. And I'll create a new business rule. And this one we'll call it products. I need to select the group. I'm going to keep it in the mandatory. I could set up some tags if I like. I'm going to say this is a high severity, and I'm going to be the owner. So now comes the hard part, right? Setting up a business role. Well, QFire has made it so easy. It's very easy because I can go ahead and click in, and we've got nice, easy drop-down menus. So I can come down to my referential data, go to the locality product. I want to check the product name against the product name coming in from the truckies. So I can say contains what? Product. And that's as difficult as it is. So I'll hit add, and there's my business role. And the last thing I'll do is set up a firewall rule for that one. So I'll come into my firewall rule, I'll hit add, I'll call it liquidity products, I'll set it again as high, and I'll just set the fail to that particular record. That way I can get the other information coming through, and I can have go and fix that one particular record or multiple records later on. So I'll hit add, and now I can come back into my submissions and add one more submission. And again, I'll select the locality logs, and I'll bring in truck number 2. Or did I already bring in truck number 2? Oh, look, I did bring in truck number 2 already. But we'll just check it anyway. I'll tell it CSV, and I'll add it in. Again, it's queued. And it'll go through those business rules, all of them, validate them, and also check the firewall rules. Great. Now if I take a look at that, we can see one record has actually failed, and it's failed on our locality products. So if I take a look at that, I can see right away that the product that's failed obviously must be a typo because we don't have any 100-ton skips. I know it should be a 10-ton skip. Great. So now if I can say go ahead and at this point I can either ignore it, I'll actually mark it to be fixed and hit save. So now it'll be ready for someone to come and fix it. And again, I could come into Yellowfin, take a look at the refresh of that report. See the new information coming through. Great. So we have the new information, and I can start to drill down on any of those to take a look at all that information that we've brought in, and we know that it's quality, secure, and clean. So there we are. That is an end-to-end how we can get data in, qualify it, validate it, and actually be able to see it in an end result. So we thank you so much for today and being able to see our demonstration. And I'll just hand over to Ian for our last few slides.
So thanks, Dan. So just a couple of slides, and so that's it for today. And just quickly on how our solutions help you succeed. So at Data Transformed, we're all about products that offer faster delivery times that reduce cost with reduced risk and speed to value. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me or Dan on the number shown there, or at that email address info@datatransform.com.au. But other than that, I'd say we're done. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today.